I used to be a man who called the shots in the underworld. But then, the subordinate I single-handedly groomed turned on me. The cold muzzle of a gun pressed against my forehead. Pendragon. I want to sit in this seat, too. I thought Casper was after my power. I never expected that what he truly wanted was me. Chapter 1. Pendragon. I heard you found a young man on the night of June 7th? The gun barrel slid slowly down my chest, finally coming to a stop just below my lower abdomen, moving no further. How was it? I leaned back against the sofa, looking at Casper with cold eyes. What Brad said when I bumped into him yesterday suddenly echoed in my mind. He said, Pendragon, that dog you're keeping by your side is no saint. At the time, I didn't take it to heart. I thought anyone might betray me, but never Casper. Only 16 hours later, Casper's gun was aimed at me. Truly an ungrateful wolf that cannot be tamed. The gun pressed against my lower body increased its pressure. Casper rested one hand on the back of the sofa, his entire figure shrouded in shadow. Pendragon, I'm asking you a question. How was it? You pointed a gun at me just to ask this? Casper remained silent. I scoffed. Was it good? Why don't you try it yourself and find out? Casper's eyelashes trembled slightly. Pendragon is really letting me try? Try your mother. I sneered, staring at him. Aren't you going to shoot? Casper suddenly changed the subject. Pendragon, do you know where I was on the night of June 7th? I didn't answer. I was risking my life for you on the high seas. The shipment you wanted. I took it back. I narrowed my eyes. What do you mean? You think I treated you unfairly? If that was the case, he really was heartless. For the past 8 years, the person I trusted most was Casper. Casper shook his head. When has Pendragon ever treated me unfairly? It is I who wronged Pendragon. That night, I stood outside the door thinking, since the person inside can be a stranger, why can't it be me? I froze for a moment, finding it absurd. Is there something wrong with your brain? Pendragon, I want to sit in this seat too. Casper's Adam's apple rolled. He tapped the muzzle of the gun lightly against my belt. It's not convenient for me to use my hands right now. Could you take off your pants yourself? In all my life, I had never suffered such humiliation. Casper, fuck your mother. The muzzle suddenly jerked up, pressing against my chin. Casper looked down at me from above. Pendragon, every debt has its debtor. I'm the one bullying you. It has nothing to do with my mother. Come at me if you have a problem. My eyes turned red with rage. I wished I could cut this kid into 1,000 pieces. Casper, you better pray you can keep me down for a lifetime. Pendragon is right. I'll go to church and pray tomorrow. He gently pressed the corner of my eye. Your eyes are so red. Is Pendragon going to cry? He undid my belt buckle. Has Pendragon ever cried? Casper leaned in close, letting out a light chuckle. Probably not. Besides me, who would dare treat Pendragon like this? I'm not like those people. He lowered his eyes, a ruthlessness in his tone. I will make you hurt, and I will make you cry. Casper injected me with a muscle relaxant. I was powerless, yet I still tried desperately to bite his fingers. Judging by his expression, it didn't seem to hurt much. As he carried me upstairs over his shoulder, I said, Casper, you swore an oath. Casper had sworn that if he ever betrayed me, he would die a horrible death. In 1995, Casper offended Brad, the leader of a branch faction. Casper's mother was Anna, the top girl at Golden Legend. A year prior, that woman had picked up bad habits and owed a mountain of debt. When Brad's men came to collect, Casper chopped off one of their arms with a kitchen knife. Brad put the word out. He was going to chop off Casper's hands and feet. Golden Legend was my territory. Anna brought Casper and knelt before me, begging for mercy. At the time, Casper was only 18, as beautiful as his mother. Especially those eyes, bright, yet carrying a hint of seduction. With the same pair of eyes, his mother looked like a fox, but he looked like a wolf. He knelt at my feet, head lowered, but his back was straight as a rod. I lounged on the sofa, looking him up and down, and sneered. What does this have to do with me? He's not my son. Why can't he be? Anna wiped her tears vigorously and tugged at Casper. Hurry up. Call him Dad. I was amused and said indifferently, Isn't this nonsense? Anna's face turned pale, and she stopped speaking. Casper didn't call me Dad. Instead, he respectfully called out, Pendragon. I asked Casper, How do you want me to save you? He said, I'll pay him back an arm, but nothing more. I want to ask Pendragon to uphold justice. I laughed. Kid, you want to work for me? Uphold justice. Only one of my own would use that phrase. Casper looked up at me. Pendragon. I'm willing to do anything. I thought it was interesting. I made a call and had my men bring in a newly captured traitor. I pulled out a gun and handed it to Casper. Aim for the forehead. Shoot straight. Casper took the gun, looked it over, disengaged the safety, cocked it, and aimed at the man kneeling on the floor. The moment he pulled the trigger, I swiftly pressed his hand down. The bullet hit the floor. Casper followed my hand, looked at my face, and asked, Pendragon, did I pass? I didn't speak. I shook a cigarette out of the pack and held it in my mouth. Casper cupped a lighter with both hands, bowing to light it for me. I lowered my eyes, unmoving. In our line of work, we live by the blade. I don't dare take in people with unknown backgrounds. Casper said, Pendragon, if I ever betray you in the future, may I die a horrible death. At that moment, the flame illuminated Casper's eyes with exceptional brightness, making that casually spoken oath seem unusually firm. Chapter 2. If Pendragon has the ability, then tear me to pieces. Casper threw me onto the bed, took off his glasses, and ripped open his shirt buttons. After taking off his clothes, his muscular upper body was covered in scars, new wounds layered over old ones. Gunshot wounds, knife wounds, puncture wounds. The most terrifying one was the slash on his back from his left shoulder to his right hip, which I had cut with my own hands. Back then, Brad refused to let things go and insisted on breaking Casper's hands and feet to settle the matter. I held the knife and said to Brad, I can't give you his hands and feet. After this cut, if he survives, the matter is settled. If he dies, consider it a life for a life. Casper didn't even blink. He stood there and let me cut him. He was in a coma for a month before waking up. After waking up, he told me, Pendragon, it really hurt. The obedient boy whose eyes were full of admiration and trust back then was now pressing down on me, demanding vigorously. I raised a wolf for 10 years, always treating him like a dog. He didn't forget he was a wolf. It was I who forgot he was never a dog by nature. I gritted my teeth and said, Casper, I should have hacked you to death back then. Pendragon, don't regret it. Casper brushed away my sweat-dampened hair and mocked in my ear. Regret will only make you look particularly useless. Regret? Useless? I grabbed Casper's hair and pulled his head back. Casper, for treating me like this, I will really kill you. Casper wasn't afraid at all, responding lazily as if coaxing someone. Then Pendragon can kill me. He chuckled. Let me die on top of you. After Casper fell asleep, I sneaked into the study, took out a spare phone from the safe, and sat withered at the desk all night. At dawn, Casper walked in carrying shoes, knelt on one knee at my feet to put them on for me. After finishing, he looked up and asked, What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Sour bamboo shoot duck. Soy sauce exploded. Okay. Snow fungus lotus seed soup and shrimp dumplings. He interrupted directly. I smashed the phone into his face. Then why did you ask? The glasses were knocked flying, the edge of the lens cutting a bloody streak at the corner of his eye. Casper caught the sliding phone, clenched it tightly, and stared at me gloomily without saying a word. I couldn't guess if he was really angry. Before, I never needed to guess his thoughts. I lowered my eyelids, quietly avoiding his gaze. In this situation, I shouldn't lose my temper. If I angered this ungrateful wolf, he might really shoot me, and then it would be completely over. Pendragon, who did you just contact? Edwin or Denny? He picked up his glasses and put them on. Edwin is too busy with his own affairs. As for Denny, Pendragon had better not contact him. Edwin was my subordinate and Denny was my sworn big brother. I gripped the armrest tightly and glared at him. What do you mean? You are so smart. How could you not guess? Casper threw the phone into the fish tank on the table. Pendragon is loyal and values brotherhood. But not everyone is like Pendragon. If you still trusted your good big brother, why didn't you make the call just now? Pendragon, you should be glad it was me who betrayed you, because only I can't bear for Pendragon to die. I closed my eyes, lips trembling as I said, Casper, get out. Pendragon. I lowered my voice, still unable to hide the trembling. Please, get out. Casper stood in front of me for a moment, then turned and left. How on earth did I end up in this state? The person I raised with my own hands betrayed me, and my sworn brother wanted my life. I thought all night trying to find excuses for Denny, but the facts were right in front of me, forcing me to acknowledge them. Casper wouldn't dare turn on me no matter how bold he was unless Unless the main family supported him. Unless my sworn big brother Denny, with whom I once vowed to live and die together, didn't want me to live anymore. When Derek came to visit, Casper wasn't there. Derek was Denny's son, ruthless and without boundaries, smuggling contraband behind his father's back, and Denny turned a blind eye. 2 years ago, Derek caused trouble in my territory, and I cut off 2 of his fingers. Denny stepped in to mediate, but the feud between Derek and me was settled then. Uncle Arthur, as long as you give me the thing, I guarantee to deal with Casper cleanly, and then you will still be the glorious Pendragon. I narrowed my eyes. What thing? Derek's face darkened. Uncle Arthur, stop pretending. Give me the thing. I stared at him for a while, then suddenly laughed. What if I don't give it? Will you kill me? Derek's expression was ugly. I looked at him leisurely. Good nephew, do you dare to kill me? Derek grabbed my collar, slammed me onto the floor, and kicked me like crazy. Arthur, what the fuck are you? You are just a dog who lost power. What right do you have to be arrogant with me? After venting enough madness, he pulled me up. I'll ask one more time. Where is the thing? A pitiful look of wanting to kill me but not daring to. I opened my mouth but made no sound. Derek leaned closer. I felt the hidden fruit knife and stabbed straight at his neck. Unfortunately, because I was drugged by Casper, my movements were too slow. He dodged and I only scratched his neck. Derek cursed, covered his neck, pinned me down, snatched the knife, and raised it high. I'll kill you! The blade was intercepted by a hand, sticky blood dripping onto my face. Casper held the blade, looking down at Derek. Young Master Derek is coming, but didn't say hello in advance. He snatched the knife from Derek and ordered the people behind him. Take young Master Derek to the hospital. Derek suddenly changed from a mad dog to a sheep, pointing at the wound on his neck, his eyes red as he complained. Casper! He wanted to kill me! Casper looked at the wound on his hand and didn't speak. At least make him pay me back with a stab. Derek grabbed Casper's hem. You cut him for me. Casper leaned over and patted his face with the blade. Young Master Derek, stop making a scene. Be obedient. Go to the hospital. Derek, that madman, looked at him for a while and was actually persuaded to leave. Quite interesting. Chapter 3. Casper knelt beside me, using his clean hand to lift my shirt and check the wounds on my body. I've let Pendragon suffer, I said. Derek said I hid something. Casper, what did I hide? Incriminating evidence. You hid evidence of Denny's crimes. Casper's gaze was obscure, his fingertips gently touching the bruise on my stomach. As soon as you die, the evidence will appear at the police station. I don't have any evidence in my hands. I say you have it, so you have it. I understood. The reason Derek and his father let me live until now was entirely because of this lie Casper told. He wasn't loyal to me, but he wasn't necessarily loyal to Denny either. Disloyalty is good. Since he could turn traitor once, he could turn traitor a second time. I propped myself up and sat, leaning against the coffee table. I loosened Casper's tie, took his left hand, and bandaged the wound for him. Casper, can you kill Denny? He lowered his head and smiled. Pendragon, I don't have that kind of ability. Besides, wrapping it like this is useless. The wound is too deep. It needs stitches. Although he said that, he let me continue my actions, neither stopping nor refusing me. Then he said, Pendragon, you really don't know how to please people. You're clearly asking me for a favor, but your heart isn't sincere. What do you mean by sincere? I tightened the tie, leaned close to him, and pressed my hand on his belt buckle. If I do that for you, would you call it sincere? Casper took a deep breath and looked at me seriously. I don't care who you are. Get off Pendragon right now. Fuck. Casper sent me to the hospital, had me checked from head to toe, and then took me back overnight. He seemed genuinely afraid I would die. The scenery outside the car window flashed by rapidly. Finally, I asked, Casper, why did you betray me? So that the next time Pendragon looks for a man, I'll be qualified to kick that door open. Truly ridiculous. Don't tell me you went through all this trouble just for my ass. Actually, yes. Casper glanced at me sideways and smiled. Pendragon's ass is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. A month ago, I would have absolutely shot this idiot. But now, I could only consider how to make good use of my ass. After all, its attraction to Casper seemed surprisingly huge. My ass could be sacrificed, but one thing had to be said up front. Casper, find some time to watch a few videos. Casper, Pendragon, don't be a smartass when you're heavily injured. It's easy to get fucked. Although he said that, I still saw Casper hiding in the study watching videos. The room was dim, the light and shadow from the screen flickering on his features. His expression was indifferent. If I hadn't heard the panting sounds, I would have thought he was watching the finance channel. But practice proved that Casper really studied hard. It felt so good I doubted life. My brain went numb. The bruise on my stomach hadn't faded yet. Casper rubbed the medicated oil warm to help disperse the bruise. I leaned against the headboard and scrutinized him. His expression appeared unusually gentle. I pressed a cigarette butt onto the back of Casper's hand. The muscles in his forearm tensed instantly, but he didn't move. He looked docile, but what about a traitor could be real? The cigarette butt went out. I said, "Does Denny treat you well? Better than I treated you?" Casper didn't speak. "I don't want the injection tomorrow." I crushed the cigarette butt. "Don't worry, I won't run. I'm just a drowning dog now. Countless people outside want my life. I'm not that stupid." Casper shook his head. "I'm not reassured. I've been with you for so long. I know best what kind of person you are. Pendragon, don't try to trick me." I gripped his chin and looked straight into his eyes. "Casper, last time Derek played tough with me, I couldn't even protect myself. When have I ever been kicked to the ground and stepped on? Thanks to you, Pendragon has become a dog anyone can kick. Watching me being humiliated and trampled on by others, does it make you feel particularly good?" "Pendragon." Casper's voice was stagnant, his gaze sinking slightly. "Last time was an accident. It won't happen again." I sneered and patted his face gently. "Do you really think you're somebody now? If there's one accident, there will be a second. Conspiring with tigers, don't get yourself killed in the process." I let my hand drop weakly. "Casper, if you still consider yourself human, leave me some dignity." The next day, Casper didn't give me the injection. I was still eating when he was about to leave. He walked to the door, put on his coat, then suddenly turned back, pulled me up from the chair, pulled me into his arms and hugged me tightly. "Pendragon, give me a little more time. Give me one more chance. Okay?" I patted his back and said, "You should go, Casper." "I should go too. I've played enough of this playing house game. Next time we meet, we'll do it the adult way." I knew the location of every surveillance camera in this villa. The trouble was the bodyguards outside, whose numbers had doubled. Casper was very wary. He couldn't trust me completely. In the afternoon, I suddenly disappeared from the surveillance. Casper rushed back quickly, circled the villa, and left with his men. Only when everyone was gone did I crawl out of the ventilation duct. The first thing I did after getting out was to find Brad. The night before Casper betrayed me, I met with Brad. He wanted to pull me into his partnership, saying, "Denny is old. When a person gets old, their brain doesn't work well." Brad had long wanted to go solo. He was the one who wanted to get rid of Denny and take the position for himself the most. I had always followed Denny before, so my relationship with Brad was very poor. But the situation was different now. I wanted to kill Denny, and Brad was the best ally. Brad said, "Pendragon, I don't trust you." I said, "I can kill Derek." Brad laughed. "Interesting. Doesn't Pendragon know? Last night, Derek's place was raided by the police. He ran away overnight, and now the police are looking for him everywhere." "So careless." Brad shrugged. "Who knows? Maybe there's a mole in the gang." He narrowed his eyes at me. "Who does Pendragon think it is?" Casper's face immediately appeared in my mind. "But I do have something I need Pendragon's help with." Brad handed me a phone. On the screen was a photo of a woman holding a child about 4 years old. "Please, Pendragon, help me invite them over." I shook the phone. "Who are they?" "Casper's weakness, his wife and child." Brad stood up and patted my shoulder. "Pendragon, that dog you raised started a family 4 years ago. Casper hid it very well. I only found out recently. Pendragon must not have known either. His family is now in Denny's hands. I guess Casper turned traitor most likely because Denny got a hold on him." After Brad left, I held the phone and didn't move for a long time. "Pendragon, I don't know how. Teach me. I don't want Pendragon to die. Why can't it be me? Give me a little more time. Give me one more chance." Thank goodness I didn't believe that ungrateful wolf's words. Thank goodness I didn't believe a single word. With a wife and child, what kind of mood was Casper in when he was with me? When I showed weakness in front of him, was he thinking that the arrogant Pendragon was nothing more than this? Deep down, just a cheap slut wagging his tail and begging for pity. Damn it, Casper. I want your life. Chapter 4. With Derek in trouble, Denny was overwhelmed and too busy to look after himself. It was the perfect time to strike. Things went smoothly. I secured the people in an abandoned underground boxing gym in the south of the city. I untied the woman's blindfold. When she saw me, her reaction was strange. She breathed a sigh of relief, looked at me with red-rimmed eyes, and called out, "Pendragon." I narrowed my eyes, feeling she looked familiar. "Do you know me?" The woman opened her mouth, gave me a look of deep grievance, then lowered her head to hug her son, saying no more. I glanced at the little guy. He was exquisite and pretty, sitting obediently, staring straight at me with a pair of bright, black eyes. "What are you staring at, brat?" I deliberately kept a straight face to scare him. The little guy slowly looked away and muttered quietly, "Childish." For hours later, Casper broke into the gym alone. I was sitting on the sofa loading a gun. The little guy sat at my feet watching. The woman was tied to a chair with her mouth gagged, a red laser dot centered on her forehead. As Casper approached step by step, I tapped the loaded gun against the kid's head. "Close your eyes." The child obediently closed his eyes. I raised my hand and fired a shot at Casper's feet. "Stand there. Don't move." Casper stopped and raised his hands. "Pendragon, let them go. I'll do anything you want." I chuckled. "Didn't you promise Denny the same thing back then? Willing to do anything." "Casper, you really have no conscience." Casper looked at me. "You are different from Denny. You won't kill them. Don't always pretend you know me so well." I turned the gun toward the little guy's head, tilting my head as I asked, "Do you dare to test me?" Casper stared at my gun, obviously becoming nervous. I said, "Kneel." Without the slightest hesitation, Casper knelt straight down, his knees making a heavy thud against the floor. Sure enough, this mother and son were very important to him. I took a deep breath, suppressing an inexplicable irritation. "When did you start colluding with Denny?" "A year ago." Casper didn't avoid my gaze. "Does Pendragon remember? 3 years ago, when you and Denny fought over the contraband, and later when you cut off Derek's fingers, Denny eventually compromised. But the person he compromised with wasn't his brother Arthur, but Pendragon. I warned you many times that Denny couldn't be trusted and that you needed to prepare early. But back then, you wouldn't allow anyone to speak ill of your big brother. When I said too much, you got annoyed and sent me far away. If I wanted to follow you, I had to shut up. Pendragon. You can never see who is holding the knife until it cuts into your own flesh." Casper's tone carried a hint of mockery. "You insist on paying the price before you're willing to wake up." There was a time when Casper tried to persuade me, both openly and covertly, to strike out on my own, saying that I wasn't Denny's blood brother after all. I beat him up and told him to get lost, saying he could come back when he figured it out, and if he couldn't, he should never come back. I sent Casper abroad for a full 6 months. When he came back, he knelt beside me, his forehead resting against my knee, and said, "Pendragon, don't drive me away, I beg you." Since then, Casper never said another bad word about Denny, until the betrayal. In the end, it turned out I was the one who was wrong. But, fortunately, there was still a chance. Fortunately, I was still alive. As long as I'm alive, I can make a comeback. "Casper, I'll give you 1 month. Denny's life in exchange for the lives of your wife and child." I rubbed my temples and looked up. "I'll only wait 30 days. Casper said, "Enough. 30 days is enough." When he left, he looked back at the little guy, his expression complicated. "Pendragon, treat him well. Damn it, who does he think he is, daring to order me around?" I looked back and saw that the little guy had opened his eyes at some point. He was sticking his finger into the gun barrel, blinking his big eyes as he asked, "Can I play with this?" I unloaded the bullets and tossed the gun to him. 3 days later, the little guy disassembled the gun right in front of me and reassembled it. Then he handed the gun back to me, yawned, and asked, "Can you hold me to sleep?" "No." "Then can you give me back to Casper?" "No. But I want to sleep. Can you hold me? I'm not heavy. Once I fall asleep, you can secretly put me down." Then he opened his arms, looking like, "Hurry up and hold me." How is he as annoying as his dad? Pendragon's hands are for holding guns, not children. The little guy, who successfully nestled into my arms, patted my arm. "You have to pat my back gently so I can fall asleep." So many demands. Patting the kid's back, I asked, "Does your dad coax you to sleep like this usually?" "No, Casper never holds me, nor does he coax me to sleep." "Then why do I have to coax you to sleep?" "Because you're good looking." The child yawned, grabbing my clothes and nuzzling against them. "And you look like you're more fun." How is this kid so sharp? Chapter 5. 7 days after Casper left, Derek resisted arrest at customs and was shot dead on the spot. Denny fell ill and never recovered. 20 days later, news came that Denny had succumbed to his illness. Before Brad could make a move, the police raided several of his strongholds. Casper reinvented himself, becoming an entrepreneur. When the plan to go legit was first hatched, Casper was in charge of investing and founding the company, and progress had been smooth. By the time Brad untangled himself from his troubles, the elders had already backed Casper as the new head of the family. Brad led his men in a sweep of the boxing gym, pointing a gun at my head. Pendragon, where are the people I want? When the news of Denny's death broke, I had already secretly sent Casper's wife and child away. My people are for my use only. No one else can touch them. Pendragon really values loyalty. Casper ruined you like this, yet you still protect him. I brewed a cup of tea. Brad, Casper's life belongs to me. I can kill him, but you don't have the right. Brad cocked his gun. Then Pendragon can go wait for him on the road to the afterlife. 2 days ago, I sat in on a philosophy lecture. Professor Neil spoke quite well. If Brad had a weakness, it was definitely his refined, gentle brother-in-law. Brad, who committed arson and murder without blinking, didn't dare utter a single profanity in front of his brother-in-law. Damn fucking queer. Brad's pupils constricted abruptly, his jaw tightening. He forced a sneer to feign calm. Pendragon, you know my style. You think an insignificant person can threaten me? There are 140 ships docked at the port. By 2 p.m. tomorrow, all of them will have departed. The first one left an hour ago. Guess which ship Professor Neil is on. Brad's eyes were bloodshot, his expression ferocious as he squeezed out a name through gritted teeth. Arthur. I pushed his gun aside. If you don't dare to shoot, don't point it at me. I stood up and straightened my collar. If you don't go now, you'll miss the last boat. Brad cursed, gathered his men, and left in a hurry, even breaking into a jog at the door. I followed him out leisurely and saw a car parked at the entrance of the gym. Casper got out of the car and walked toward me. Pendragon, time to go home. I drew my gun and pressed it against his heart. Casper's expression didn't change. He was fearless. If you kill me, Pendragon won't live either. I turned the gun around. Do it yourself. That won't do. Casper grabbed the hand I was holding the gun with, his eyes brazen. I haven't lived enough yet. I've only just earned the right to enjoy my spoils of war. Think clearly. If you don't die, your wife and child will. Casper smiled. I said before, Pendragon wouldn't kill them. Besides, if you want to threaten me... Casper ejected the magazine and shook out the bullets, speaking half-truthfully. Pendragon's gun muzzle has to be aimed at yourself. I cursed Casper the whole way back. When we got home and I saw the little boy building blocks in the living room, I finally understood why Casper was so confident. Casper was cautious to a pathological degree. He never left loose ends. Casper carried me upstairs over his shoulder. As we passed the living room, he shouted, Oscar, go back to your room. Oscar put down the blocks, looked at him, and obediently walked toward his room. At the door, he suddenly turned back, pointed at me, and asked, When you're done playing with him, can I play with him for a while? What kind of strange phrasing is that? Am I a toy to you people? Casper hooked the corner of his mouth and rejected him ruthlessly. No! Oscar watched us disappear around the corner of the stairs. Casper and I fought on the bed, which eventually ended in my defeat. Casper tied my wrists with a belt, pinned my legs, grabbed the back of my neck to press me into the mattress, and patted my ass. Pendragon, behave. I don't want to drug you. Humiliated and furious, I shouted abuse. Are you an animal? Your son is downstairs. Casper raised an eyebrow. Isn't that more exciting? I tried to awaken his conscience. Casper, is doing this fair to your wife? Casper was silent for a moment, then laughed low. It doesn't matter. She won't mind. I mind. I was so angry I spoke without thinking. I won't be a mistress. Casper laughed even happier. Fine. I'll divorce her tomorrow, marry Pendragon, and make you the official wife. Before I could speak, Casper grabbed my neck, forced my head up, and kissed me from behind. Why? What gives him the right to do this to me when he has a family? I kicked him away, quickly reversed the position, pinned him to the bed, kneeled beside him and choked him. Casper, I will kill you. Casper casually grabbed my wrist and pulled it away hard. I lost my support and balance, falling onto him where he held me tight. Casper patted my back gently twice, as if coaxing a child. Pendragon, Don't say things out of anger. A real man never speaks empty words. I looked for a chance to kill Casper almost every day, failing repeatedly but fighting harder with each setback. Once, I even got hold of his gun and pulled the trigger. In that moment, we both froze. Casper stared at me blankly, taking 3 seconds to come back to his senses. When he looked up, his eyes were red. If I hadn't used up the bullets yesterday, I'd be dead now. He gripped my wrist and pulled me close, his face gloomy, looking like he wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. Pendragon, could you really bring yourself to do it? I whispered. What's there to hesitate about with a traitor? Traitor. Casper gripped my neck, looking a bit manic. If not for me, would you be standing here alive making a scene? If I didn't turn coat, who would have risked their life to kill Denny and his son for you? Arthur, what makes you think you can point a gun at me time and again? You are so fearless because you know how much I love you. You know that no matter what you do to me, I will love you. You use my love unscrupulously, yet you dare not admit it. But Pendragon, there is more than one way to love, and I can get angry too. Casper locked me up. Sometimes he hung me from the beams, sometimes he tied me to the bed. He fed me drugs, making me immobile like a vegetable. Casper personally took care of my eating, drinking, and bathroom needs. For 10 whole days, I almost lost my dignity as a human being. I admitted my mistakes to Casper and begged for mercy. In the end, I begged him like a madman to kill me. Maybe I scared him. Casper dressed me, opened the door, and kissed my forehead. Don't be afraid, Pendragon. This won't happen again. I didn't believe him. Casper knew me too well. He knew how to dampen my spirit and how to make me submit. If I stayed any longer, I would sooner or later be tamed into a dog that only knew how to wag its tail and beg for pity. I had to leave, get as far away from Casper as possible. But my plan was exposed before I could even act. Casper wasn't angry. He just told me calmly, Pendragon, without my permission, you can't run away. Also, stop crawling into the ventilation ducts. My pupils constricted. How did you know? This time, I hadn't planned to hide in the ventilation ducts at all. When Pendragon escaped so smoothly last time, didn't you ever suspect anything? Casper took off his glasses, his gaze clear. Back then, you injured Derek, and Denny demanded I hand you over. I couldn't refuse openly, so I could only find a chance to let you go. In that situation, if you had gone to Denny, I couldn't guarantee your safety. Casper was warning me that he knew everything and I couldn't escape. To be honest, he was looking down on me a little. Chapter 6. 2 months later, I successfully made it to the port. But before I could even board the ship, I ran into enemies. As the bullet tore into my stomach, I suddenly couldn't understand what I had been struggling for. There are countless people here who want me dead. If I ran away, I could never come back. This is where my roots are. I can't leave. Casper saw it clearly after all. I really couldn't escape. When Casper found me, I was hanging by a thread. He gripped my hand tightly, tears dripping onto my face. He said, Pendragon, don't leave me. He said, Pendragon, survive. My eyelids grew heavier and heavier. Yet I was still thinking, so Casper cries too. Has he ever cried before? Casper spoke again. If you die, I'll kill Oscar. You might be heartless enough to leave me, but you surely wouldn't leave Oscar. He's not my son, why wouldn't I? Casper, Pendragon, Oscar is your son. Casper pissed me back to life. 3 months later, I cornered Casper in the hospital room. Explain clearly. What happened? Casper looked at me for a long time, then spoke reluctantly, his tone carrying a hint of gritted teeth. It's just a debt from your wild days. I had been reckless for a period when I was younger. A one-night stand wasn't handled cleanly, and I left a seed behind. 4 years ago, a woman came looking for me with a child, but Casper intercepted her. After confirming the child was mine, Casper lied to the woman, saying I refused to acknowledge them. The woman started making a scene. To appease her and prevent the situation from blowing up, Casper decided to pay for their upbringing out of his own pocket, on the condition that they never see me. Casper was very cautious. He raised the child for me silently for 3 years without anyone finding out. It wasn't until a year ago that Denny discovered them, and later used Oscar and his mother to blackmail Casper into turning traitor. The whole thing was absurd and outrageous. I was so angry I grabbed a pillow and threw it at him. The movement pulled at my wound, making my face turn pale from pain. What the fuck were you thinking? Casper caught the pillow, staring at my wound, his voice hoarse. I was afraid you'd marry her. Afraid you'd start a family. Afraid you'd have a weakness. Afraid you'd die. Afraid you wouldn't want me anymore. I'm so unimportant. Pendragon throws me away whenever he wants. Casper looked up and smiled at me. I didn't know what to do to make you see me. Even if just for Oscar, stop struggling. With the current situation, it would be hard for you two to survive without me. Casper opened his mouth, his Adam's apple rolling as if he wanted to say more. But in the end, he just repeated obscurely, even if just for Oscar, stay. I closed my eyes, having nothing to say. Why are you back again? I thought you didn't want Casper anymore. In the master bedroom, Oscar lay by the bed, propping his small head up with his hands. Next time you run away, can you take me with you? TSK. I pinched Oscar's small face, scrutinizing him. Aren't you a bit too sharp for a kid? Oscar blinked and hugged my neck, acting spoiled. Please, I want to be with you. Casper is too mean. I narrowed my eyes. Casper bullied you? You're bad-mouthing him like this. Oscar sniffled and whined aggrievedly. I hate him. Let's run away. I looked up and saw Casper standing at the door holding coffee, looking at Oscar's back with a faint smile. I raised an eyebrow. Just as I was about to laugh, Oscar suddenly stopped whining. He jumped off the bed and straightened his clothes solemnly. Uncle, rest well. Dad says it's dangerous outside, so don't run around. He turned around, saw Casper, let out an exaggerated, ah, and obediently called out, Dad. Casper held the coffee and picked the little guy up by the collar with one hand, walking out. Oscar. Dad. Where are we going? Casper. To discuss how Dad abuses you. Oscar looked at me. Handsome. Control your man. I laughed until my stomach hurt. Casper. Go easy on him. 3 days later, Oscar was sent away. I went to argue with Casper, only to be pinned against the table by him. Brad is back. Oscar isn't safe with us. I sneered. Why didn't you send me away too? Casper was silent for a moment. He let go of me and squatted down to put on my shoes, just as he had done countless times before. Because you are Pendragon. You won't leave here, just as I won't leave you. He pressed his forehead against my knee, his voice muffled. Pendragon, don't go. I buried my fingers in his hair. I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. Casper, for this lifetime, let's just leave it at this. Casper's POV. Arthur is a bit face-blind. He can't remember his lovers' faces, and he certainly can't remember mine. He thinks 1995 was the first time we met. For me, it was a reunion. I first saw Arthur in the alley next to Golden Legend. In 1989, Arthur wasn't Pendragon yet. He couldn't sit on the sofa at Golden Legend and have underlings scrambling to do his bidding with a wave of his hand. At 18, Arthur had to carry a knife and fight for his life on the streets himself. At 12, I was always blocked in alleys and beaten up because of my mother. Where did this student come from? Sleeping here? Do you want to die? In 1989, Arthur pulled me up from the dark alley, pointed at me with fingers holding a cigarette, and laughed. How did you get beaten into this state? I was bruised and battered, looking wretched. Arthur laughed at me, but actually he wasn't much better off himself. The wound on his head was still bleeding, looking even worse than me. After laughing, he stubbed out the cigarette. Kid, call me brother, and I'll stand up for you. How about it? In 1989, the suffering of childhood dissipated with a single brother. Fighting evil with evil was what Arthur taught me. He dealt with those who bullied me, picked up my school uniform, shook it out, and threw it over my head. Kid, study hard from now on. Don't be a bad person. I asked, what is a bad person? Arthur pointed at himself. I am a bad person. In Arthur's brilliant life, I was just an interlude not worth remembering. But in my pale 12 years of life, Arthur was the most vivid stroke. This is unfair. This unfairness ran through my entire life. The initial pursuit was secret. I looked for Arthur on the streets. Every time I saw him was like winning the lottery. Arthur fought again. Arthur was injured. Arthur had many friends. Arthur looked good when he smiled. Arthur was very strong. Arthur was scary when he was fierce. In corners where no one noticed, I watched Arthur countless times. But he never looked back. As if he would never look back. At 18, when I raised the knife to resist, I was thinking of Arthur. Blood splattered on my face, just like it splattered on his back then. I will always remember that dusk. Arthur turned and left, not even asking my name. Because he was a bad person and I was a good person. Now, I have also become a bad person. When we met again, he had become Pendragon and wouldn't say again, Kid, call me brother, and I'll stand up for you. He didn't remember me. But when I called him Pendragon, he would still help me. Following behind Arthur, I felt this was my destiny. I was born to follow him. At 12, I should have gone with him. Not until 18 did I barely catch up with his footsteps. At 20, the protagonist of my wet dreams was Arthur. I dreamed of his hand holding a gun, sliding across my Adam's apple, capturing my soul. I wasn't completely loyal to Arthur. I would peek at his body through his collar. Just holding his ankle excited me. Every touch, even his beating and scolding, was a reward to me. I wasn't satisfied with Arthur's occasional glances. I wanted his long-lasting gaze. I knew this wasn't normal, and I was also clear that Arthur liked women. He had many lovers. He let women kiss him, leaving lipstick marks on his shirt. But he was also ruthless, not even remembering the faces and names of his lovers. Arthur didn't believe in love, only in power and brotherhood. I suppressed my jealousy. It didn't matter. Those people weren't important. Arthur didn't love them, he just needed women, needed sex. I could deceive myself and endure him fooling around with women, but I couldn't accept him sleeping with men. After snatching back that batch of goods, ignoring the gunshot wound on my shoulder, I just wanted to tell Arthur the good news quickly. I wanted to see him smile and pat my shoulder, praising me for a job well done. But Edwin guarded his door. Talk about it tomorrow, Pendragon is busy. I heard ambiguous sounds from inside the room and asked blankly, "Who is inside?" "A man who looks better than a woman." I stood at the door like a log, feeling myself collapsing from the inside out, imagining my Pendragon using the hands from my dreams to touch another man. A man? Good looking? I asked Edwin with red eyes. Is he better looking than me? Edwin was stunned and frowned. What are you crazy about? Go get the bullet removed. Pendragon won't come out for a while. I shook my head. I'll wait for him. Since both men and women are okay, why can't it be me? Since he doesn't reject men, why does he ignore me specifically? My Pendragon, you stand too high, only seeing the people at the very top. Then if I climb to the peak, will I be able to get your favor? I accepted Denny's proposal and pretended to be forced to betray Pendragon. Arthur wasn't willing to guard against Denny, nor could he bring himself to act against him. This could only be done by me, risking everything, just to take the lives of Denny and his son, to keep Arthur safe. He trusted Denny too much. Sooner or later he would fall because of this. I walked alone, not intending to explain to Arthur. He wouldn't believe me. He didn't believe me before turning traitor, and he certainly wouldn't believe me after. I didn't need him to believe me, as long as he lived well and looked at me. But I didn't expect Derek to go find Arthur behind my back. When I saw him pointing a knife at Pendragon, my heart felt like it stopped. While Derek was talking to me, I thought of 20 ways to kill him. Looking at the bruise on Pendragon's stomach, for the first time, I suspected if I was too impatient. I should have taken it slow, not necessarily using this method. My Pendragon should have held his head high, yielding to no one, able to stand up again even if he fell. This weak and down and out look really didn't suit him. Derek was cut by Arthur. After Denny found out, he asked me to invite Arthur to his place. That night, Arthur used both soft and hard tactics, saying hurtful words to force me to agree not to drug him. I knew he wanted to run, and I knew he would run. My Pendragon, if others don't understand him, don't I? I didn't expect Arthur to cooperate with Brad and capture that woman and Oscar. I didn't care about the lives of those two people at all. It would be best if Arthur really could kill them. But I had to care. I was afraid Arthur would really kill Oscar, and after knowing the truth in the future, he would fight me desperately. So I could only continue pretending. I was about to close the net. Even if Arthur didn't do this, I would have dealt with Denny within a month and taken care of Brad along the way. Everything was set. I thought it would slowly get better. It didn't matter if Pendragon didn't accept me. I had a lifetime to explain to him, to confess to him. I didn't ask for his love, only for him to soften his heart once. But he shot at me. He didn't know there were no bullets in the gun. He wanted me dead. He said I was a traitor. No matter how I explained, in his eyes, I would always be a traitor. At that moment I hated him. When feeding him medicine, when taking off his clothes, when hanging him up, when cleaning him. For a full 13 days, every moment I clearly knew Arthur would not forgive me. But he was very obedient. Arthur had never been this obedient. Lying in my arms. Letting me do whatever I wanted. Letting me take whatever I wanted. He begged for mercy, he admitted his mistakes. And in the end, he asked me to kill him. That day, looking at Arthur curled up on the bed covered in bruises, I suddenly felt a burst of heartache. A dense, overwhelming pain. Why did it become like this? Look at what I've tortured my Pendragon into. I originally wanted to protect him well. How did I end up ruining him into this state? Was I wrong, Pendragon? From the beginning, I shouldn't have forced it. From the beginning, I should have just followed behind you. Trembling, I touched his forehead, feeling his tension, and said, Pendragon, don't be afraid. It won't happen again. I'm sorry. Arthur wanted to run. If he wanted to run, there would always be a way to escape. Running out once cost him half his life. 3 critical condition notices were issued. I had even chosen the cemetery for both of us. The day Arthur woke up, I covered my face and held back my tears. I really haven't lived enough yet. Who knows how long it would take in the next life to catch up with him again. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.